Can anyone catch them, do you think?
Yes, of course.
Yeah, unbelievable. We didn't expect that.
As unbelievable as it sounds, this is another Arsenal podcast. That is the Away Gunners podcast. We bring news and reaction from Arsenal fans from all over the world. Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of the Away Gunners podcast. We have got Arun and Ellen with us, and we have got a new person joining us. Hi Arvind. So Arvind is like the positivity of all Gunners together or all Gunners together. He is always positive. So just giving everyone a heads up over here. We are going to discuss about a very good game. Very good game in recent times, right? Sheffield, the 3-0 victory, clean sheet and all those things. So I'll start with Ellen because I know you have a lot more to say about the Slavia game, and then we'll talk about Sheffield too. So I know there is a lot of disappointment in the Slavia game, but with the Sheffield, are those disappointment a little bit less now, Ellen? I think.
See, as I said I'm there.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, you're here.
Yeah. As I said in the last week, right? Like the Slavia Praga game and both Sheffield, I was predicting 2-0. And like we were almost on track, like say 1-0. And like the only thing bad in that Praga game, even though we played the entire game in a different gear altogether, was that like we couldn't hold the ball in the last few minutes. Like there was like no clear desire from the team to hold the ball, and like as Arvind is here also, he might support me on this. Like Zaka was the only guy who was like shouting for us to hold the ball that day. So like that was the only bad thing about that game. Like because or else like it was like with the players we didn't have for that game, I was expecting such a kind of game only. But like we should have still won that 1-0. And this game, like 2-0 became 3-0, so I was happy.
Mm-hmm.
See, just to put it, like Sheffield is not a great opposition at the moment, but still a clean sheet, like after a long time, a clinical victory, not like a victory where like we struggled for the 80-85 minutes and then finally score and win it. Like it was like a normal good game, like which we were missing in Arsenal for quite a long time.
Yeah, it felt like old Arsenal, as in like the Wenger's Arsenal. I know I'm gonna sound like the Wenger boys, but Arun, how happy are you going into the second leg? Because we have to win, but we are also finding this kind of thing called rhythm right now.
Yeah, but what happened for me to be happy about anything going into the second leg?
Come on, the 3-0 victory after a long time. There's a clean sheet with that back four. If you consider that as a back four, we didn't have Tierney. We are not playing any of our actual fullbacks that we usually play. We play like completely without both our creators, like ESR and Odegaard, and Aubard was missing too. So with everything considered,
and where is Sheffield on the table?
Yeah, true that, but you can only beat what is in front of you.
No, I know in a season where we have not had a lot to be happy about, we should be counting each of our victories. I know that. I'm just trying to be tough here, just because I feel that like people are I don't want to just get carried away. It's Sheffield.
There's nowhere else to carry away. We know that we are finishing in 10th. We are not saying like after this victory we are not going to finish in top 4. No one could say that. We are not going to do that. We are not going to be in like finishing top 6 after this victory. No, it's not. It's just a victory that's going to keep us in 10th, and that's where we are going to be.
No. I know why Arun is like little bit not optimistic. The reason is like we are consistently inconsistent this season. So after a game like that, right, Slavia Prague game, like we might make mistakes. So like
I would in fact be more wary because of the fact that we won 3-0 against the Premier League opposition. That means that there's definitely some sort of a mess up a high possibility of some sort of mess up happening on Thursday.
Oh, come on. I was hoping that this is going to be a bit more positive after the weeks and weeks of negativity from the whole
No,
pod.
I'm not being negative here. I'm sorry if I'm being a buzzkill, but I'm not being negative. I'm just trying to be grounded. I'm just trying to stay grounded. I mean, like, yeah, the positive, if I were to be blunt, the only positive for me from that game was probably the clean sheet that we had. And that was a huge positive. Like outside of that, if you ask me, like we are expected to beat a team that is in 18, 19, 20 in the table, and they know that they don't have anything to play for. And they tried. There was, yeah, that was the biggest positive for me. Maybe like the way in which we played, we set up and we didn't give up. Like after, like you said, not having all these players and having makeshift backlines and all that. Yeah, that's a good positive. But again, I would definitely say that this is a game that we should be winning, no matter what team we have, because where they are at.
Yeah, that is true. We should be winning
Maybe
a
like
lot of
3-0
games.
is a huge bonus. Yeah, 3-0 is like Christmas coming in.
Christmas is not coming to your Wi-Fi,
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, I think Arun, we are losing you.
but
I'll
like outside
continue.
of that, like yeah, I mean like if you really think about it,
Yeah, I think we are losing
I
Arun
don't
a
I
little
don't know
bit.
if there's a yeah,
Uh,
go on, continue.
Hey, Arvind, so let's continue with you so that Arun could catch up on his internet connection or whatever
Can
is
you
going
guys
wrong.
hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Okay, and can you guys see me?
Yes.
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 So, do you want to counter the point that Arun was bringing up that we are just, we have just won against a bottom Premier League, the bottom most Premier League team? I mean, that is
Absolutely.
true.
It doesn't matter where they are in the table. You have to go there and win. West Brom are bottom, third from the bottom, second from the bottom, but they've gotten points against City, Liverpool, the big guys, right? And if you're gonna play a game in the Premier League where you're just gonna take a night off, I don't think you're gonna get those 3 points. We've seen that with Burnley, we've seen that with Wolves. We've not beaten Crystal Palace in what seems like forever. So I would definitely not, say any game is easy. And from the way we beat Sheffield convincingly and to get our first clean sheet in 14 games, that's also a pretty good confidence booster for a game against a very important game against Slavia, which I can't believe how we are 1-1 going into the second leg. I can't understand for the life of me, but here we are. We know what we have to do, and I think I think Arsenal are a much better team, and it's just a matter of applying ourselves in getting those goals and victories.
So I'll hold.
There's your silver linings, please.
I'll hold Arvind for a minute more on the starting lineup. Actually, I for whatever I have seen in that team, when I looked up when the team sheet came up, I was not able to see. I thought Saka would play a left back, and then we are playing with like a back four of Chambers, holding Mari and Saka. That's what I was thinking, and it was a complete different surprise to have Saka playing as left back. Even then, I was thinking maybe it is a back three, and then we have some kind of this thing, and it was completely out of every other prediction we have, or every other whatever we think of Arteta. Arteta just flips it on his head. So, what were your thoughts on having Shaka play the left back? I know you love Shaka, and I'm gonna get Ellen into the discussion a little bit late. Yeah, go ahead.
So I concur with you. Like I was also looking at Shaka as a central midfielder and Saka to be playing left back. And when I saw that, I immediately thought, when you're having a new left back, why do you change the centre back pairing as well next to him with Mari coming in place of Gabriel? That was my initial thought. But Mari has showed me that he's dependable. He reads the game well, although he doesn't have that pace to match a lot of players. He makes up more than with his reading of the game. So I was confident with that. But to see Shaka line up at left back and to see the kind of performance that he put in, I was just like all of this while when I've been defending Granit Xhaka as why he needs to be wearing an Arsenal shirt. I just felt vindicated. I know a lot of people would just like to say that I know he was going to be like this. I just wanted him to be more consistent. I get all that. I was calling on the same thing too, but I did believe in the potential of a player, which I'm going to bring another example of Danny Ceballos pretty soon. I believe in that potential of that player too, which he showed against the
We will
Sheffield.
have the Danny Ceballos
Yeah, I know,
discussion.
I'm getting ahead of myself. I just want to preface that by saying in the future we're going to get into that debate very shortly.
Yeah.
But seeing the kind of performance that Granit Xhaka put in, I don't think that is going to be sustainable long term. Xhaka is not a left back, obviously, but these one-off games where you need a makeshift left back, Xhaka is more than dependable.
But that is a concern too, right? For us, if you consider we still have Hector Bellerin, we still have Cedric Soares, our natural fullbacks, and then we go for and then we do have like Gabriel, who's a centre back. I don't know how good he could play as like a left back or something if we wanted a left-footed player on that side, and then we go for a midfielder into a left back position. That shows us where, like, that shows where the other fullbacks are in the pecking order, right? Like, not trusting Cedric or Perrin or anyone else against a team that is 20th in the league.
Bellerin is a extremely right-footed, one-dimensional player. You cannot, for the life of yourself, play Bellerin there unless you're looking for a defeat, which I don't know why we would be. But and Cedric, he's shown to be a good player. I think the only idea of not playing Cedric on the Sheffield game was to give him a little bit of rest to play against Slavia, because that's a much more important game. And I don't think Gabriel has
to make his mistakes in that game, not this one.
Cedric, if you're listening, I got you back. And Gabriel does not have the ball handling skills to play a fullback. So from that standpoint, I think Saka was probably the obvious choice, having played there before. But I think it was kind of an unspoken truth that Saka's been more effective in front when he's played for us. So I think that is where Arteta made the decision of playing Xhaka at left back, which paid off immensely.
Ellen, do you want to comment on that Granit Xhaka on the left back?
Yeah, see, I'm like one of the biggest critic of Arteta if you see our pods regularly. But like, this is one, right? Like, I will like appreciate Arteta. Reason being, right?
Oh,
like,
really?
The reason being that, like, see, I'm not saying like this tactic will work with all the teams. Yeah, against Sheffield United, right? Like the opposition was not good, so could be a reason why this worked. But like, if you see,
but that is the concern, right? That is the concern. Arteta pulling up all these fancy formations and stuff.
No. Let me finish. Let me finish. Like, say, the normal gameplay where like Xhaka plays as center midfield also, right? Like, you could have seen that like he generally shifts to the left side when the, like, say, Tierney or somebody moves up. So it was not something like an unknown position for him. He actually plays there. And like, whenever sometimes the left back is injured, right? Like, Xhaka is the guy who goes and plays there. So it was not something new. Like, what I'm not saying about Xhaka's position alone, like when I appreciate Arteta. The other thing what he did, because Xhaka is not like a Tierney or a Cedric, he was not moving forward. He was like standing back, and like that was giving more stability to our defense. It was more like a one-man midfield with Thomas Partey. Danny Ceballos was playing more like a left wing back or like somebody, like he was like completely free there. He was allowed to roam and he was allowed to do his thing. So he was like not giving any pressure of retaining the ball or anything. He was allowed to play his natural game, which helped the team in that game. And then the other important thing is, like, since Ceballos moved there, Saka was like playing more like a number 10.
Mm-hmm.
If you see, like, that was again like with all like Odegaard and ESR getting injured, like we were getting a struggle there. So I felt like Arteta trying something different to overcome that problem which we are facing now, because we know Tierney is out now, and Odegaard, I'm not sure when he will be back. ESR again, if he's going to play 1 or 2 games and if he's going to get injured, we need a backup plan. So I felt like he tried something new here to avoid that. And like, see, in the past we have criticized many managers because they are one-dimensional or they just follow the same kind of thing, like they are not adapting. Arteta was trying to adapt, which was something like I should appreciate him for
That
that.
is something
And
that I'm having a concern actually about Arteta, right? Like he does things better when he is restricted. When he has like 2 weeks ago, we had the
Well, then
entire
he's
squad.
perfect for the club, isn't it? Everything is restricted around him. He doesn't get
No,
any
but
money.
like
It's
2 weeks
fine,
ago, we had the entire squad, right? We had no injuries and anything like 2 or 3 weeks ago. And then that was not a really good teams, or that was not good performances on the pitch. There was nothing creative that was being done during that time. And then suddenly now we are finding ourselves in a position where we are out with all our best players, or most of our better players. And then Arteta comes up with this all this strategy and
no,
formation and this gameplay.
no, I'll put it like not against Arteta. Like if you see, right, like all the games where we are creatively good, or like where like see, if you take ESR Saka, like they were in good form. But like if you say like in the normal games, right, whenever we doesn't play Auba, we play different. See, it's not like I'm not saying Auba is bad or good. I'm just saying like the strategy is like different. So the players who's playing a center forward, right, like plays it different. When we play Auba either in left or center forward, right, we try to adapt for his strength, and that is why like those games you are not seeing those spark or creativity. It's a problem we are having at the moment. Like with Auba we have to play different. Without Auba we can play different. Without Auba we are actually doing good, but Auba is our main player. So that's a problem which Arteta has, and how he solves that is going to define the fate of Arsenal in the next season.
Interesting. Actually, yes. If you think about it, I think this season we have most of our victories have come without Auba. I think 60% or 63% of our victories have come when we didn't have Aubameyang on the pitch. And even this game, it was very impressive. And the game with the before this, whichever game we found impressive was against Spurs, when Auba was not playing again. Right. So, Arun, do you see this problem that Ellen is coming up with, that Auba is somewhat restricting our gameplay or game strategy on the pitch? Or is it just Aubameyang out of form is restricting everything?
I don't know if it is out of form. Honestly, I I I would have to see him play more as a center forward in this team with this Arteta's team, and the kind of gameplay that he's trying to have, to be really able to say if, like, he is being disruptive on the entire game's play. Because on the left he has never been effective. He's not a player who's supposed to be playing on the left. So if we try to like shoehorn him in that team on the left, yeah, he would get you a goal here and there. But like if you're looking at the bigger picture, that is definitely not a sustainable solution that is going to work. You're essentially trying to fit like a square peg in a round hole, because you want a winger there. You don't want a striker there. You want someone who can take people on, beat people, and like be more effective than what he is. Auba, his instinct is to go for the shot, and he will go for the shot. But outside of that, he doesn't contribute a lot, which, yes, I agree, disrupts the team's play, the momentum. It kills the momentum in most of the times. And even when he loses the ball, he loses it at a point where like it's easier for the opposition to counter. I don't know if you guys have noticed, but every time Auba loses the ball high up the pitch, the opposition counter very easily. I don't know why that happens. Uh, Maybe we are committing a lot more people when he does, and like with the overlap, we're getting beaten. But I'm really not sure. So on the left, yeah, if you're going to be playing him on the left, we do have a huge problem. It's a 350K a week problem. Not saying that it's going to end up like Ozil.
Is it that though, right? Like, I mean, even whenever Auba doesn't play, or when I see this whole Auba missing a game through flu or some reason or something, it just it might be just the PTSD of the whole Ozil situation that we had.
It is, and I wouldn't blame you, because it's very easy to get those feelings, right? Ozil did not happen 20 years ago. Ozil happened less than 20 months ago. So it's not like, not even 20 months, wasn't it? Like the beginning of this season that So it's not that long ago that the Ozil situation happened, and of course. You would think once bitten, twice shy. But then again, at that situation, we had to give the contract to Aubameyang, right? So it is not something that we could have avoided. We had to go through it. The only way for us right now is to possibly find a way to play him in the team without it being disruptive. And playing him on the left is not going to be the solution for that. So
Also, there is a talk about the whole dressing room unrest, right? And Aubameyang of late, and especially after the Spurs game, is when this whole thing started, right? That Arteta is losing the dressing room a little bit, little by little, but it doesn't show on the pitch. And the players, like
it doesn't at all.
a couple of weeks ago, when Lacazette came out and said like we didn't respect the managers, and that coming from a very senior player sounds different. But then again, if you consider Willian is out of the picture completely, right? He's a big name player. We can have our opinions of Willian about whatever, but he's a big name player. And
But he
then
started against Slavia.
yeah,
He's not out of the picture.
but is that the level that we are expecting out of Willian, or is that the level for Willian himself? That's the question, right? And he doesn't look happy. He has never looked happy coming into the Arsenal team. Right from the start of the season, I've never seen him in any of the training videos, or in the even anything. He doesn't look like happy being here. And Auba of late has been having the same vibe of not being happy. Auba is known to be really happy. Auba is known to have the whole fan base in his pocket, kind of thing. But of late, all these kind of points to kind of a dressing room. And when I see this whole thing about like it was Sun, right? A Sun reported that there was a dressing room unrest. It is quite concerning for me, especially after like Emery. Emery lost the dressing room too. So
you could see Emery's loss of the dressing room on the pitch, and that so first of all, Sun's publication, I don't even respect that. That is the same as I don't know if Pornhub came with a news channel. That's the same thing that would be. So
Pornhub has standards, please.
So I'm not going to put any worth on Sun's reporting, but to specifically to Auba's point and to Willian's point, I don't see why the whole concept of them not being happy is coming out. Auba came in the Slavia game and he injected so much energy that was needed. He assisted the goal for Pepe, and if you see the way he won the ball to assist that goal, that was, I think it shows how much he wants to be on the pitch. And when he's on the pitch, there are times when he's not scoring. There are times when his shoulders drop, and that is natural for a player. I understand, like Arun said, we are very PTSD oriented with the Ozil situation, but don't forget, less than a year ago, Auba was our main man. He took us to the FA Cup, and that without a traditional number 10 or a creator. So he was lethal in finishing. Granted, Auba is going through a rough patch of form, but I don't think that has anything to do with a dressing room revolt or whatever Sun's reporting. One thing I would like to give Sun credit for is they are smoking some weapon grade heroin there.
Yeah, that is true.
I agree with you. Arvind, it's true, but I don't think anyone is like talking about Aubameyang being bad or anything. People know what he's capable of. It's just like our gameplay has evolved so much from the FA Cup win. It seems like it's like at that point we did, like you said, we did not have a recognized number 10, and we had to play in a very different way to be able to get the ball to him.
Right.
Now our gameplay has evolved so much that like the entire team has to contribute. And at that point, if you have a player who is not contributing at all outside of his, I know he's a striker and we do not expect him to play like a wingback, but if he has responsibilities to defend, he has to defend,
So that is where my question is, right? Like I have two parts question there. One is that Lacazette is our highest scorer this season with 12 goals. 12 goals.
Penalties, yeah.
12.
Now, how many
13.
of those were penalties?
Okay, sorry?
How many of
your penalty?
Yeah, two maybe, two or something. Even then, like our highest scorer for a season is with 12 goals. That is so un-Arsenal.
No. Let me counter you with a different thing. Like I think Willian will have like maybe in the top 3 of our assists chart.
Yeah,
he has more assists than Hakim Ziyech and Kai Havertz combined.
No, that's a different thing.
Don't
That's a
compare
different
it with
thing.
like other teams. I'm just saying
No,
like my
he
my
keeps going
my
those
problem is
positive messages
our
all the time.
Arsenal. We are not that 12 goals per season. I think last season Martinelli had 10 goals. I mean,
Yes, he did. Let me give you some context here, right? Our goal difference is 8, and it's not like we are beating teams like 4-0, 5-0. We're if the games we're winning, we are literally hanging by the skin of our teeth and winning by a goal, if that. So and when we're losing, sometimes we're losing 3-0, like the game against Liverpool. So therefore, your GD takes a massive hit when you lose, and not significant improvement when you win. So that goes to show that we're not producing as much. And we did all unanimously agree that we are going to go into a rebuilding phase, with the unfair expectation that seems to have changed mid-season from oh, now I want Arsenal to be scoring 5 goals every game. Yeah, sure, but we don't have the kind of players to do that. I would love to see Arsenal score 5 goals a game too, but the reality is, we create so less. We're not clinical in front of goal, and when we get our chances, we convert like 20% of them. So yeah, you're not going to get a lot of goals, and I'm glad Lacazette scoring goals here. He's got 15 goals this season, 13 in the Premier League, 1 in Europa and 1 in EFL. But apart from that, nobody else. I think Auba is double figures in goal contributions across all tournaments. Just 2 players in double figures, and not much coming from elsewhere. I doubt it's a great look. But having said that, we are where we are at this point because of the kind of squad that was being built over the course of time, in the last 4 or 5 years. So we have to kind of bear the brunt of where this is going and just trust the process, in my opinion.
no, my concern right there is right like to trust the process is my concern, because for me it looks like we were back three and we played back four with Ozil in when Arteta came in, and then we abandoned that idea when that was not working, and then we went to a back three, and then that was working for us all through the end of last season, and we won the FA Cup with that and everything. And then even at the start of the season we were playing a back three, and then it stopped working, and then we went to a back four again with a creator in middle, with ESR coming in, and then it was working, and then we got Odegaard, and it was working from Boxing Day, and then it stopped working again. And now we have gone to this kind of a place where Shaka plays the left back. We have to have certain players in a certain place. Like Lacazette has to play with these players for it to work. Aubameyang has to have these players for it to work. So it is all like, I don't see a like, okay, this is my way and this is going to work. Whether it works or not, or whether it works or not in that day, I'm still going to stick to it and make it work the next game. That kind of thing I don't see from Arteta. Ellen, do you see
Picasso,
that?
like no, Picasso. Let me ask you a question. Like, say, just taking Liverpool because they were like very close in like Europe before, like, and then like they won Europe, and then like even Premier League, you can say like they were like really good last season. They lost Van Dijk. See, I'm not saying Van Dijk alone. So what did they do? They put Fabinho back as like centre back. That affected their entire midfield. You're saying about one person missing is like, or we need one person. Teams like Liverpool, which are like winning like every
But that
game
is
sort of
Van
like
Dijk. That is Van
no,
Dijk,
leave
right?
Van Dijk. No, leave Van Dijk. Van Dijk is for that team, like they are at that level because of Van Dijk. But like Van Dijk is like an important member in like that team. We take that team alone. Similar ways for our team, right? There are 1 or 2 important players, and when you miss them, right? Like any coach for that matter will struggle. They have to adapt things. And like just to coming back to your point, we were not like moving to back four, like from back three, because we were struggling, because that was part of our natural transition. Because initially when this season started, right, like we were struggling, like even if you take the last season, we were struggling on our defense. So Arteta was making that strong at the beginning. And then like if we were all complaining, like if you see at that time, we were not doing much in attacking phase. And once Thomas Partey was back, he started slowly moving to like back four. Since we didn't have a proper number 10 at that time, like initially that was not giving dividends. And once we started playing number 10 only, it started giving results for us. So that was a like what to say, a natural progression which we were having. It was not like Arteta was trying a lot of things. Arteta was doing that with a proper plan. Now, because of many people getting injured, like say it's not like your creative areas, like say Odegaard and ESR were injured. Saka is like at a phase similar to Jack Wilshere when he had that great season. That fag end, they were like losing their stamina or like losing their.
It's a burnout.
Things
It's a
like that.
burnout. Yeah, even last
It's
season he
for
had
Saka.
that. Even last season he
Saka
had
is
the
having
burnout
that.
at the end of the season.
And our main attacks from the left is from Tierney. Tierney is now out of the picture. Like there were injuries for them, and now like he's like completely out. So you're losing players at many places. You lost David Luiz, who was like more like a leader for our defense, even though he had in the past made a lot of mistakes. This season the mistakes were also less. So we are like struggling now. Like say even if you move Xhaka like to the
But
other
that
area,
is my concern, right? That is my concern. It is all good that we have reasons.
No.
Good that we have reasons, but these reasons could happen again. And what is our answer?
No, that's what I'm saying. See, for a play clubs like Liverpool and others, like where they have like even good backups, they are struggling. We are just now clearing our deadwoods, and like Arteta hasn't even got like say complete transfer for like 2 or 3 seasons now. It's just like say he has like 3 transfers altogether, and 2 of them were like winter transfers, and only 1 summer transfer. So with that, right, if you're expecting backup for all the positions, like see the players whom we are lost are the key players for this season. They might not be like brilliant players, like if you take like in the Premier League history or even in the Arsenal history, but like this season they are the key players, and losing 5 or 6 key players, right, will put trouble for any manager. So I think we are a little bit harsh on Arteta on this. See, again, I want to see like how Arteta handles this, because that's where like he's going to learn as a coach also.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm interested to see how he's going to handle this. I agree on what you're saying, that like we have to see like how Arteta handles it. Like it might look like a common problem for Arteta, but it is not that case. Like because of injuries, everybody struggles. And like see, even though I'm an harsh critic of Arteta, we have to agree like the pressure he has, because with our kind of fan base, right? Like the pressure is like double than any other coach.
No, I get it. I'm not.
Speaking about strikers,
yeah.
And again, speaking about strikers on the same pattern, if you see City, right, they've got a lot of coaches under Pep, like strikers under Pep, but only Aguero stayed back. The other strikers were all not bad strikers; they are like clinical strikers. But even for Pep, right, like he needs that striker to do a lot of other things. Or else, like City can easily like offload the player. We cannot do like that. They're like we ready to do a loss and like get the owner's money. Like we cannot do like that. So if Auba is not fitting also, right, like for the way like we want to play, Arteta doesn't have an option. Because there is no bias for Auba, so he has to find a way of fitting in Auba and making Auba the lethal guy who was before. See, Auba might have like 1 or 2 small concerns, like in his like he's degrading a little bit, but like even with that, right, like I don't think there's an option for Arteta. There's huge pressure, and we should not blame Arteta for everything.
Okay. But then talking about the striker situation, I mean, you mentioned that we don't have options. We do have options around, right? I mean, Martinelli came on this game. We have been crying for Martinelli for so long, and you have always had the opinion that he's 19-year-old, he'll get his chance and everything. Yes, he'll get his chance, but we need someone who could score goals, and that guy can score goals.
Yes,
right?
he can, but it's also
But,
right
I mean,
now.
what is the but there? Because whenever he has come in, he has performed well. He's tracking back. He's doing a lot more.
The but is basically not for him not playing. It's basically for his body and what we've seen so far happen to him.
He has one injury. He had one injury, which is a long-term injury, obviously, yes. But
yeah, and when you have okay, because let's look at it this way. You're telling me that this guy can score goals, and like him, probably Saka and like the ESR or KT are going to be the backbone of the team going forward, right?
Yes.
So in a situation where we have Saka out, ESR out, ESR is like he's not shown yet that he could have a consistent run in the team without getting injured, right? Same time, Saka was fatigued and he was also getting injured. Why do you want to put this guy as well in the same spot? I'm not saying that he should not be playing. Again, all that I'm saying is whatever the team management is doing is probably based on how fatigued or where he is.
But we are at the end of the season. We have nothing else to lose in the Premier League. We have
Yes.
nothing else to lose in the Europa League. Right?
Yes.
I mean, why
What
have
if he gets injured now and misses
Um,
like 10 months of active football?
But what if
He'll
we
be
don't
forced to
play
go
him and
in.
we end up losing the game? Like it's a fine balance, right? And for ESR getting not being or ESR being an injury prone player, I think the sample size is too small to just put a label on that yet.
That's no, I never put a label. That's why I said like we haven't seen anything from him to show that he
Right.
could be consistent. We both are basically saying the same thing.
Yes, I agree with you. We cannot just throw Martinelli to the wolves. Although when Martinelli came back from injury, almost immediately he started the home game against United, and
no, Chelsea. He played against Chelsea, and then at the United game, he actually had a good game against Chelsea. And then at the United game, he got pulled out from halftime.
and he
there was
also
like
the point I was trying to make is he came back from injury and almost immediately got a start. And then in a warm up, he rolled his ankle, which again caused Arteta to take caution in his approach in integrating Martinelli back. But the thing is, once you put Martinelli back and once he's fully flowing, at that point you cannot just rein him in over the fear of injuries. I don't think that is how you can sustain a football club, right? And although we need to take caution in the approach of integrating Martinelli back into the team, we should definitely not hold him back once he's fully integrated and raring to go. Like the interview that he gave after the Sheffield game when he said, "I'm ready to play the next game." That is really,
He also said,
nice
I'm
to see.
really very tired. He
Right.
also said, I'm really very tired.
Of course, you're going to be tired playing 80,
No, no,
83
no.
minutes, and he's not played 83 minutes in how long? So you're going to have that fatigue. The lack of match fitness for playing that long is going to come into play. But it doesn't mean that he's not willing to. And mind you, he scored his goal at the 80th minute when he was still willing to run in and pounce on that opportunity, which if you're not that fit, if you're not that eager and willing, you're not going to get that.
Let me be the spoil sport here. See, there are two things. Like we saying like Martinelli coming and saying I'm fit. You cannot accept that at all. See, you go and ask any player in the world if they want to play, they all will say play. I want to play only. Nobody will say like I'm not.
Ozil doesn't want to play.
Even Ozil, right? Like was trying to maintain his dignity. Like he was not coming and saying like I won't play for this team. Kind of thing. Nobody will say that. So we cannot go by that word alone. Like we have to take a lot of things into consideration. See, in the past, if you've seen, right, many players, when they get injured, right, whatever you do in the training ground is different to whatever you're actually seeing in the match situation. So they generally play the under 21s, get into a good fitness, and they are coming to the team. So they would have had some games under their belt. This season, with too many injuries and like too many games in between, like Martinelli didn't even have that option. He was always like a backup or in the bench in the main team. So, see, we can all say that like he's fit, like he's ready to go and everything, but like he hasn't played any competitive game. And as Arun said, right, like we cannot we know we cannot finish top 6 or top 4 this season, even if Martinelli plays. It will
Why
stop
not?
a bad run like with 1 or 2 runs.
Why? Wait a
Top
second.
4 and top 6 again. Still.
Okay, I'll grant you
is-
top 4 is probably a little out of question, but
Probably.
top 6 is very, very reachable.
Probably.
We are 7 points away with two teams to go in the top that we have to play in the teams above us, and with a bunch of teams in the top 8 playing themselves. Like the next game is between Everton and Tottenham, 2 teams right above us, and that is going to have major implications.
So they're both gonna lose or one?
No, they all these teams just have to play the opposition. We have to play ourselves as well. You are not. We're playing 22 people.
Listen, I'm not
this is
granting us a top 6 finish. All I'm saying is it's very much within our reach, a top 6 finish within the Premier League.
This to all our listeners is why we got him in the first place. This insane amount of positivity that none of us could ever have, and then he would say like,
that's what Arvind's positivity. Arsenal might not have that same level of positivity. Might be a reason why they are not doing much. Because see, it's not a small-term injury. Like say, even great players, right? Like after a big injury, they always struggle, like both physically as well as like mentally. Like it takes them time. So with him like being just 19-year-old, right, like if he's going to start now, right, like there's a huge pressure on him, like to because Auba and Laka are not doing what they are capable of doing, and like this guy is like what happened to Saka? The entire pressure was on him, like at that time to drive forward the team. He did it well. I'm not against that, but like why to put that extra pressure also on Martinelli when he's like just come back
how
from
did
a
we come
long
to
time
find
injury.
out that Saka is a really good prospect and a really good player? We played him a
Thanks to
lot.
Emery. Thanks
That's
to
fine.
Emery.
No.
No, thanks to
Arvind,
his.
the difference is Saka did not have any injuries going on. Like Martinelli has been injured more often than Saka.
That's fine. He's had
No,
an injury.
what happened to Wilshere? No, in that case, like we had a very big prospect in Wilshere, like, and what happened to him because of him
Wilshere was
playing at the wrong
16.
time?
Wilshere was 16. Martinelli is 19. Wilshere got injured in 20. Let me just counter that. Wilshere got injured in 2009. This is 2021. The amount of recovery mechanisms, the way of rehabilitation, everything has improved tremendously. Athletes are playing like once every 2 days now. So I'm not going to buy the argument that you have an injury for Wilshere 2 decades ago, and that's going to happen the same way for Saka and Martinelli if they were ever to get injured.
See, whatever be the technology like that has improved, like your body is still not a machine. Like we haven't evolved to a machine yet.
Absolutely.
So like, so our body will have its own burnout, and we cannot like see if you take that way, right? Like a person from Africa will have like more less. I mean, like less burnout than a person from Europe. Like or like there will be specific cases in Europe, like where like a guy can even have like more strength than a guy in Africa. Like so, there are like a lot of different things. Like our bodies are different.
And how would you know if Martinelli is one
like,
or the other until you play him?
No, he is just coming back from an injury. And like we cannot take a risk. That's what it's a 50-50 now, and we cannot take a risk on a 50-50.
No, my concern here
That's
is
what I'm saying.
My concern, guys, 1 minute. For my concern in this whole situation about Martinelli is that how Arteta plays him. It's not about whether he plays him or not, but how he plays him. Because let me go back to the United game where he was yanked at halftime, where and Arteta came out and said it was tactical reason. He didn't say that he carried an injury or whatever. He said it was tactical reasons that he yanked him at halftime. And this game he got a start with like you said, Xhaka and Ceballos playing on the same side as him. So for me, the question is more like, is Arteta trying to not play Martinelli because he feels that Martinelli has to learn a lot more? I mean, yes, he's a 19-year-old player.
I have seen that also. Like one thing is like when our fullbacks attack, right? Like he wants the person who's playing, say, on the left or even on the right to help in defending also. See, if you see, Willian was why he was like initially like allowed to play on the right was because Bellerin didn't have Pepe supporting him in defensively at the beginning of the season. Once like Pepe and others started supporting defensively, right, you can see Willian fading out slowly. Martinelli, right, like doesn't defend much.
But that is the thing, right? Like he does defend a lot.
No.
Like even in the United game, he made a lot of last tackles.
No. It's not about like tackles. Or like in a gameplay wise, right? See, even we have seen like Auba coming and helping and doing last ditch tackles. Like, but we all agree Auba doesn't help the team like in that kind of a game. But we have seen him making those tackles. See, Martinelli, I'm not saying that like he won't do it. It's the phase of the career where he has to learn about that, and like he's at his more skill was like as a winger. You're expecting him to do a lot more other duties, which is like something he will learn down the line. At the moment, right, he's not like that good at that. And like for team stability, like we are not playing him. He's also learning things as well as it's like not just only the injury part. The other part is like the strategy part. It's a combination of things. And like you can put him and you can ask him to do that. He will still do that. But when he's going to stress himself more, right, the possibility of injury happening is even more.
Okay.
But by that logic, you can never play him. Because he's always going to put his heart on his sleeve and run himself to the ground.
See, if he hadn't got injured again after his long-term injury, right, we wouldn't have been this cautious. We would have continuously played him. Like, see, we are playing like other long-term injury guys like continuously. Since he got injury and like his age is also a factor. If it was like a 25 years or a guy, right, like they wouldn't like be this much cautious because your body would have been developed at that time.
Here
This
is
is the stage
my
where your
only
body gets developed.
here is my only counter to that, right? He's consistently making the bench. If he's not fit to be playing, he won't be making the bench. If he's
The
making the
idea
bench,
probably of him making the bench is to
No,
give him
that
like a little bit of game time, not a lot of
he's
game time in one.
that he hasn't gotten either. Like how many games in the past 5 games has he played? A game and a half?
Yeah.
Yeah. So my point is this: like the tactical reasons, I get that, but for somebody to say you start Martinelli but don't play him as much because he's going to be injury prone. I don't get that logic because if you're good enough to make the bench, you're good enough to play, and if you're good enough to play, you're good enough to play the 90.
See, there are two things here. Like nobody is saying like he's going to be injury prone. It is we are just saying he's going to be like we are little bit cautious with him. Another thing is right that in the bench, right? Like maybe if we are like consistently winning, or like we would have like been like at a good position, like say how we were against Sheffield, right? Like he would have got us 10 minutes, 15 minutes regularly, and that would have made him as a starting person. Like whenever, like if you see this season, most of the time the last 30 minutes or the substitutions when you have to make, we were always under pressure. And that could also be a reason why he might not have been like started from the bench.
That is true. It is piling on more pressure on a youngster who is coming back from a long-term injury. That kind of makes sense. But Arun, I want to get back to you on the midfield side because I know your take on Ceballos. So Ceballos had one of his better games, and with having the whole freedom to roam anywhere and doing everything, and the whole flicking and touches and first time passes and everything he did. So, what are your thoughts on Ceballos' game against Sheffield?
Ceballos, he considering where he was playing and what he had to do, yeah, I'll give it to him. He had a decent game. The fact that he played forward, Arvind, one game like one swallow doesn't make someone. Let's wait for him to have a consistent run of games. He had don't give me the Martinelli excuse. Ceballos has had a lot of consistent run of games. He's never been able to show that he's good enough to play for the club. Never.
Disagree with that.
It may be like that Burnley game when he came and played right at the beginning. I think that was the beginning of last season where we won 1-0.
We have had. I mean, I'm of the same opinion of Ceballos too. I don't rate him highly because he has had 2 complete seasons to prove his worth, to stake a claim on the first 11, and he has not done anything to.
And mind you, we did not have anyone for creativity for a long time. We did not have ESR. He could have done a lot more. There is no case of us not utilizing him. Like there's no situation like that. We are giving him chances. He's supposed to be dynamic, and he is not being dynamic in the least. So I don't know. Ceballos is plus we paid 40 million. When we factor that in, it doesn't like.
That's a skewed statistic. We'll get into that later. But Ceballos has had 21 appearances this season, and most of them predominantly from the bench. Very few starts.
Why are you saying only this season? Why can't we go back to last season? Because he has been here 2 seasons.
I said he's been there 2 seasons.
Yeah. So he was there. He was injured for a significant part of the Emery era before Emery got fired, and he only came back much later when after Arteta came in. So it's not like he's had a full season to play. And this season, when he was fit, we had Thomas Partey and Granit Xhaka playing, and he couldn't really get into the 11. That's defined by the number of games or appearances.
Partey has not been playing for a long time. Partey had more injuries. Partey came back only after the Boxing Day. So that is my thing, right? Like, so he had enough time to stake a claim on the starting 11, and he never took it up.
So he did, and here is where I would call upon the game against West Ham at the beginning of the season, where he would play. I think Saka would play Ceballos, and Ceballos would cross it to Nketiah for the winner.
That's the thing, right? Like for me, I brought up this
in 2 seasons where he's played close to 40 games. You're giving me 3 instances. I'm telling you, I want that to be more consistent, and he's not shown me anything that could actually tell you that he could do it consistently over at least 3 games together when he's gotten the opportunity.
there are different kinds of players, right? One who
No, don't give me that. Don't give me that. Don't give me different kinds of players.
Why?
I'm not going to agree to
See,
that.
the thing is like, let us
Not
even
every
see. It
not
is not
everybody's a
about
Martinelli.
it is not about the different kinds of players. For me, it is very simple. Okay, I need my players to have more 7 on 10 days than 5 on 10 days or 4 on 10 days. And Ceballos has more 4 on 10 days
5 on 10 days. Yeah.
than 7 on 10 days,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
that is
And you
not
cannot deny
acceptable.
that, Arvind.
And that is not acceptable.
You cannot.
It doesn't
Okay.
matter.
And this is
It
not
doesn't
the
matter if he
IPL
comes
convert
from the
like
bench. It doesn't matter if he comes from the bench. It doesn't matter if he starts. It matters that when he's on the pitch, I want my players to have 7 on 10 games more often than a 4 or 5 on 10 games. And Ceballos has more 4 on 5 on 10 games than a 7 on 10 games.
Just think about the impact, his positive impact on games versus the negative impact. If the ratio
El
of
Nini
his
has a better impact on games than Ceballos at this moment.
Okay, so I'm going to tackle that one by one. I'm actually making notes here. So let's talk about the 7 on 10 games. First of all, to get that rating, you will have to play a minimum of 60 minutes. He's coming off the bench. You
No,
cannot-
it doesn't.
No, not
doesn't.
exactly.
Doesn't.
He-
I'm not putting it against like any of
my
the.
point is this: you don't have enough data to rate him. He would, if
No.
he's coming
No,
off
no.
the bench, he's going to play for 20-25 minutes. He's going to touch the ball 6-7 times.
Arvind, like
It's
let
not
me give
about
you
the
an
touching of the
example.
ball. Okay, go
So
ahead.
No,
how
I'll
would you
go out
how
of
would you
football.
rate him then?
No. Let me give you like I'll go out of the football for your easy thing. In cricket, right, we have certain players who fail like 90% of the time, but we still have them because like they can do one big thing and they can win the matches on their own. Like say, if you take the old Afridi, I'm not saying that Afridi the bowler. When Afridi started his career, he'll just come and try to blast every ball. At that
Okay.
time, right, like most of the time it was failure, but we know he can do something. With Ceballos, right, like the leave the goals, leave the assists or anything. You take the normal gameplay, right? He hasn't shown something great to start him.
You are modifying the argument to
let's
suit
say
your point.
So okay. Let me put it this way. Okay, when El Nini comes out, I feel more confident that the game, whatever is the game plan, is going to get executed. Whether it's going to be a defensive game plan or whether it's going to be a pressing game plan, it is going to be executed by him than when Ceballos comes out at 60th or 65th minute.
In Emery's first season, there was this game against Wolves in the second half of the season. Emery started El Neni along with Guendouzi and Torreira in the midfield. That was a game where if we had won, we would have made Champions League the next season. It was so easy. Wolves were the newly promoted team and El Neni started. He had a horrible game. El Neni has been in the club for 5 years now. He's been on loan 2 years in that time, and he's come back. He's had really good moments this season. I'm not taking that from him.
That is the concern I'm putting it. Okay.
Let me finish. If you were to say, if I were to make a point saying I'm going to remove El Neni's goals, I'm going to remove El Neni's contributions to the team, and I'm just going to look at El Neni as a player. He's not that great. He doesn't have the pace. He doesn't have the dexterity to play in the midfield. He's a right-footed player predominantly. His left foot is like my grandma's right foot, and it doesn't really matter if I were to remove his contributions. So it's the same argument with Ceballos. If you are going to remove his contributions and just say Ceballos as a player is horrible, he's had bad games. Who hasn't had bad games in an Arsenal shirt?
Arvind, like we are not removing his contribution. We are saying his contribution is far less. Like I agree your point.
He's playing CDM. What is his contribution supposed to be?
No. Let me say, if you take Gilberto, right? Like he was the person whom we missed a lot. Stats-wise, you will not see his name anywhere. Stats-wise, you will not see his name anywhere. But he was the person whom we missed a lot. Same way, like say, I agree with your argument on El Neni. El Neni is not like a world-class player or a player.
That is my actually problem, right? We are comparing Ceballos to El Neni. We don't want El Neni in our team. That's the thing.
First of all, I don't think the comparison is adequate. One is more defensive-minded. The other is attacking-minded. And when you're
they are telling just purely in terms of impact. Just in terms
Again,
of
when you are attacking minded versus defensive minded, the impact you're going to have cannot be quantified the same way. It's like comparing apples to oranges. I'm going
No,
to.
but like if
I-
you,
then in that case, okay, Arvind, tell me whom we can compare Ceballos to.
There is nobody in our team you can compare Ceballos to.
Outside
Unfortunately,
of our team. Outside
he's
of our team.
outside of our team. I would compare him to a Scott McTominay.
A Scott McTominay.
Yeah, right now McTominay is the better player. I'll give you that, but I would compare him to a Scott McTominay because Scott,
McTominay is a pure defensive player. This guy is not a pure. You cannot go into a game with Ceballos as your defensive midfielder. You can go into a game with McTominay as your defensive midfielder.
and as evidenced by the numerous number of trophies that United have won in the last 4 years,
It doesn't
I would.
really matter. You're talking individual players. We're talking about
No. Let me get this straight. Let me get this
we are
straight.
talking about individual performances, not about team trophies.
It
The
doesn't
individual
matter
performance-
how
it
many.
does
No.
matter. It does matter. If
No,
we
no, no.
have to take,
No,
if
let
we
me
have
put
to,
it- No,
if
let
we
me
have
put
to
it,
take, just a minute, Ellen.
third striker in Real Madrid. No. Third striker in Real Madrid. Like, can we say him as like a better player than Aguero because Aguero hasn't won Champions League?
The third striker in Real Madrid.
Lucas Vazquez has won more Champions League than Aguero. Does that make him a better player than Aguero?
But Lucas Vazquez is a midfielder and Aguero is a striker.
Okay, who is the striker? But do you think Benzema is a better striker than Aguero?
Currently, yes.
Currently, like let's look at the records and everything. Like
No. Like we had this Liverpool striker, right? Like who was his name? Like after Mane, and like there will be one guy, right? Like who'll come and play.
Origi,
Takiri?
no.
Origi, yeah.
Divock
We can
Origi,
even take
yeah.
Origi.
Okay.
Divock Origi is the striker. Is he a
Yes.
better striker than like Aguero?
No,
Yes. He has a Champions
He has
League.
won more trophies.
no,
One-
but the contribution is
You
what.
took it as like how many cups that McTominay has won. In that case, right? Like this guy has won more cups than.
My point wasn't that at all. You completely ignored the point I was trying to make, and you're just suiting your argument with a different point. My point is this: even though McTominay plays in the midfield, he makes mistakes. If you look at the game, if you look at United games, there are a lot of times he makes mistakes. And but the thing is, there are people behind him who clean that up, so it doesn't become as evident. But with an Arsenal team, it looks so apparent because people behind him are not able to clean that up. And there are sometimes in games like the one against Liverpool and the game before that against Olympiacos where he had like horror shows. Those are inexcusable games, and I don't expect that out of Ceballos. But for Ceballos has shown me enough of quality for me to say, okay, I would warrant to have a player like Ceballos in my team. I'm not going to play. I need to get him back. But I would like to have a player like Ceballos in the team. He gives you a lot in terms of wanting to play, wanting to push himself and improve himself. You can see how much he wants, how much each goal means to him when the way he's celebrating on the field.
Windows he celebrated each goal and each miss the
Yeah.
same way. Don't give me all this.
And this is
So
the same.
you're-
This is the same argument we had about Guendouzi. We have the same argument about Mustafi.
Yeah, seriously, if you're happy with having a guy like Ceballos in the team, that shows how much we have really fallen. Like it really shows me how much. If we're happy with having a guy like Ceballos in the team, it shows how much Arsenal as a club have fallen.
Ceballos was a key part in us winning the FA Cup last year. We beat teams like Chelsea, City,
I'm
and
asking for
Liverpool
the
along the way.
consistency, Arvind. He could have played a key part, but where is
The consistency that you are asking of him, the consistency you're asking of him is the same way he could ask for consistency of games which he's not gotten. And
He has not shown anything for us to give him the game time. That's the problem.
That's a catch-22. That's a catch-22.
No, that is not a
It's not a
catch-22.
catch-22.
2 years.
Catch-22 because he's not.
He's not
shown
played
the
enough in the
chances.
2 years.
No, he
He-
had enough opportunities. Partey was not available when he was playing. There was no ESR. There was no Odegaard. Saka was not playing as number 10. In spite of all this happening, he's not been able to command a midfield position over Xhaka, over Partey, over Elneny. And he's able to play just because we do not have Willock or AMN in the squad. If we did have Willock, obviously Willock would play over Danny Ceballos. And that has happened. That is exactly what we're saying. This guy is not someone who is good enough to command a starting place. He's not been consistent to show us that he deserves a starting place, and yet you still are happy with him being in the squad and you want him in here in your team. And that's where we are not able to understand why there is. You talk about Xhaka. Xhaka has redeeming qualities. We have not seen anything from Ceballos, is what we are saying.
That's a perfect example, actually. So about 3 months ago, the same thing that we are talking about Ceballos was said of Xhaka. He's not fit to wear an Arsenal shirt. His mind is not in the right place. He commits egregious.
He's good, but he's not the level that we should be aspiring to be at for the team like Arsenal. That's
Simple.
what
You
Arun,
can't have a team. The thing is, you can't have a team with like all stars across the board. I wish we could,
it
but
doesn't happen. I agree.
yeah.
It doesn't
Okay.
happen.
Okay, and the argument against Xhaka that was made 3 months ago was that he's not fit to be an Arsenal player because of the negative attributes he has.
So let me put
Xhaka supporter.
Ellen,
I'm a big Xhaka supporter. Yeah, go ahead.
Let me put an end to this discussion, because I think we have been going around in circles. But the point that I was trying to make was that, right, like, it was not to slack off Ceballos as a rubbish player or whatever, right? But the team that I want, or the club, the direction, the club that I want my club to move forward is not aided by having Ceballos in the team, and it doesn't look like I can get behind the idea of having him for one more season or signing him for permanent. If we are considering that Xhaka is not good enough, yes, he's not good enough, and we cannot have stars all across our team, and Xhaka is our not good enough player, but still okay to be in the squad kind of player.
Ceballos has 11 appearances for Spain, 29 appearances for Spain under 21. The Spanish team is not something you can just easily break into. Ceballos is 25 years old. Let me finish.
Let me finish. More goals for England than anyone else.
England under 21, not the England team, but the Spain national team. Ceballos has played for it 11 times. He has 1 goal, and the Spain,
and Mustafi is a World Cup winner. So that's okay. Let's finish this Ceballos discussion. Let's go across about like the other part of it. I mean, Partey had a really good game too. Arun, I mean, I know that you've been having questions about Partey too. I mean, you've been talking about like he has to prove himself, or he has not done enough for the game. Do you see something positive from Partey?
Last game was he did do the same things that he has been doing so far this season. Win the ball in a really good position, but then give it away right away. Like, if that's the way he's going to play, we already have someone we developed at home. We have AMN to do that. Why do we need to go pay 45 million and buy Partey to do the same thing? Like being so casual that you don't care about having the ball and give it away right away. So, but last game too, he did it. But like the thing was that he was playing as a midfield pivot that he normally doesn't play. He was playing like way, like deeper than what he normally does. And given that, and given like the formation that we played, I think he had a pretty good game. Not a great one, not the one that we would expect from him all the time. Like, not the kind of Liverpool bossing Liverpool at Anfield game. But yeah, it was pretty good in the sense that it showed us what his abilities are. Like, I find with Partey, with each passing game, we're just seeing like a bit more of what he can do, but not all of that in the same game. So it's, for me, anything good that he does, I would just like to take it as a positive. Though I would like him to do that more often. If we have to succeed next season, our success is very dependent on how he plays, because we need a presence which moves the ball forward. And unfortunately, we do not have another person doing that. So our gameplay next season is very dependent on him. And
let me continue that discussion about like not just Partey. I mean, because we have our game midweek with Slavia Prague, which is the most important game we have right now. So do you see us going back to a back four with Cedric in and Xhaka and Partey as our pivot, and then having a number 10 and back four? Is that what you're looking at for Slavia?
Ideally, I would like the same formation to continue, just because it makes us more compact and we don't concede goals. The problem is that I don't trust Cedric at left back, whatever I've seen of him. Same thing happened in the first leg as well, right? It was him and Willian on the left, and the ball hardly progressed. With the same thing when we played with Xhaka, Martinelli, and Ceballos on the left, most of our attacks are from the right, and it made the left more secure. So if we are indeed going to be playing from the right, I would rather prefer have like Xhaka, pretty much the same thing that we did, rather than like take a risk with Cedric, lose the ball, and concede a goal. That's the last thing we want at this point. When we need to score a goal, let's make sure that there's no way for us to concede goals and go all out on attack, and that's what I would try to.
So what is your prediction for the game? I mean, midweek game.
For the game, what I want or what I think is going to happen.
Don't predict a win. That's all I would say. What will happen? Yeah.
What will happen?
I would like us to like win 2-1, but I think it'll be we lose out on like penalties.
Okay. So about the PL game, do you want to predict the game against Fulham for the weekend?
Let's win this one. We should win at least 2-0.
Okay. So I'll go to Arvind. Arvind, so what are your thoughts on like the formation that we would employ or the strategy that we would go for the game midweek?
I think Xhaka is probably going to start in the center and Cedric on the left, primarily because we need that steal in the middle and banishing Xhaka to left back. Although he's a left-footed player and that naturally fits him, it does take from the center away. And we saw in the last game against Slavia how they were really dominant through the middle. So I would, from that standpoint, see Xhaka back and Cedric take his left back position. On the left, because Cedric is back, I would like to see Oba play if he's fit. If not, I think Arteta would probably go with Willian and not Martinelli. Kind of the same formation and the same team we had for the first leg. I mean, we're riding in a high. We created a lot of chances in the first leg. We couldn't finish them. We were in clinical. I see like the players do get the kind of situation we are in the season. So I'm thinking we're going to win it. I would say a 2-1 and we go in through away goals.
Okay.
Naturally.
And about the PL, about the Fulham game?
Fulham, I think it's going to be like a Sheffield game. It's one-sided in Arsenal 3-0.
Oh, that's good.
Fulham have been really good defensively in the last months.
That's why I was a little surprised about the 3-0.
Yes, Fulham have been defensively good, really for the last 2 or 3 months. But law of averages, and I would go with that.
Ellen, so your thoughts on the midweek game?
Yeah, like I expect Cedric to start, because ESR is fit, so there will be somebody in the. But like I want one of Saka or Pepe to play on the left. The reason is Cedric works well with Pepe. And I want Auba, even if he's fit, to come as an impact substitute and not like a person who's going to start. Because the reason is we have considered an away goal. So the focus for them is like even a clean sheet is okay for them, 0-0. So we have to score the goal and we have to go in attack. So I think like we need Xhaka, the enforcer in the central midfield. So definitely I expect Cedric to start. My prediction will be like we will win it 2-1. Because even with all those things, right, like we have a really good team and like people like Pepe are doing really well in European games. And the other reason why I want us to win 2-1 is we know the only way for us to go to Europe is through Europa League. And if that cannot motivate this team, right, and there cannot be anything else. And the bigger motivation is if we are going through this way, right, the only option for us is Champions League and not even Europa League. So I want Arteta to take more responsibility here and get that motivation to the team, mainly because of that reason. With respect to Fulham game, I expect an odd-fought 1-1 draw.
Okay. Yeah, that is what my thoughts are too regarding Fulham game. I don't think we will be able to perform very high in
Scott Parker has done the team really well in the last few years.
Yeah, and also we have had 2 or 3 very intense games. Like Slavia was intense. Last game was not intense, but we did have a lot of energy to us. And then again, we are going to Slavia. So it's going to be another intense game. So we might taper off a little bit against Fulham. So I was expecting a draw against Fulham too. Regarding the midweek, I think we might see some surprises from Arteta, especially with how he sets up the team, because he has done that a lot more. And in these kind of crunch situations, when he has thrown up people into the team whom we have not expected. So I think that is where I think it would be in the defense. There might be a little bit of shuffle. And also, I think we might have a little bit of surprise up front where Pepe and Saka might start together. I hope they start together, and that is what I am thinking. I hope we get a 2-0 victory. Not letting them score would be good, but I don't think that is going to happen. I think I'll agree with you too about the 2-1 victory. I think that's where we stand, and draw with Fulham. But at the end of the day, if we are getting through the European Europa League, then I would be happy.
Good evening.
But we should be getting through, and we should meet Emery in the next round. And I have to laugh at Ellen after we win against Emery to prove that Emery was a inferior coach.
Let's go one step at a time. Let's win against
No. Let me ask you a question. Arteta defeated City in FA Cup last year. Does that mean Pep is not a good coach as Arteta?
This argument is really poor.
No.
I don't care. I don't care if Arteta is better than Pep or Pep is better than Arteta. But I do care if Arteta is better than Emery. So I will only hope for that to happen. And on that note, thank you guys for joining in. It has been a really nice pod today. And hopefully we'll meet after the victory against both the games. Bye-bye.
Come on, you Gunners.
Thank you.
Bye.